Welcome everybody to the Lit Up Instagram show, which is the live version of the Lit Up Lightworker podcast, bringing you fun and soulful interviews with spiritual teachers with the aim of tuning you in and lighting you up. And this is the last episode for 2018, and I have with me Fab Giovanetti, who is the founder of the Health Bloggers community and the co-founder of the Health Blog Awards. Through the Health Bloggers community and her online mentoring, she touched over 100,000 people from all over the world. As a qualified health coach and personal trainer, she strives to learn and push herself. And as a serial entrepreneur, she's always looking for new ways to support people to grow their impact. Fab's book, Make an Impact, is out now and published by That Guy's House. Fab, it's so wonderful to be here with you.
Hello! Hello, Pumpkin!
Hello, Pumpkin. I miss our singing down in London of Moulin Rouge, our little medleys. First of all, congratulations for launching your book yesterday. I was following your stories on Instagram and really loved following through all the fun that you were having, karaoke the night before, and then all the sparkle. It was really sparkly, wasn't it?
There was a lot of unicorn farts. That's what we call the glitter. They just look like farts. And I was like, brilliant.
Oh, really? I didn't know that was a point behind that. Wow, I love that.
What's the point behind it? That's the official name.
Oh my God! Well, it matched perfectly with the sparkle of the book. I dressed in yellow as well in honor of your book's cover, which is yellow as well.
Thank you.
So, Fab, I want to go back to the beginning. What got you interested and started on your path to helping other entrepreneurs and wellness businesses start developing their influences and therefore make an impact with their message? What is the story behind that?
The story behind that is the story of a need. The need of a friend actually at the time who wanted a group of people that could come together and talk about green juice when green juice wasn't a cool thing in London. So we go back 6 years now. And one of the things that I said in the book and I kind of prized myself to do is listening. I'm quite good at listening and just kind of things get stuck in my head and I'm like, you know, I could do that. That's what I usually do, which can be also my culprit a lot of the time. I was like, I can do that. And so basically, it all started with the community itself. That's where the great things start. And the community itself, I saw that there was this common thread since we started, which was a very small Facebook community. Twitter and Facebook, bizarrely enough, it was a Twitter chat at first. Hello, people. Sorry, I just like to see people say hi, hello. I'm not used to Instagram Live. It's been a while. But yeah, so basically this community, and I was like, the common thread is that everybody wants to make an impact. Oh, something happened. Everybody wants to make an impact. Everybody wants to make a difference in people's lives. And that's kind of like what I realized. And I was like, okay, so this is the influence. And then 2 years ago, influence became actually an industry with the influencers. I realized there was something that was shifting. And that's when I was like, okay, this is all well and groovy. People are starting to turn it into income, a business, something different. But what is what is the importance of influence? What is actual influence? And are we kind of losing ourselves in all the, the cool things, and we're kind of missing the point? And that's how I started helping people, and that's how things have changed since then.
I think it's so important you're speaking out about this because, as you just said, the influencer industry is growing and it's going to keep on growing. And so many people just want to become influencers, and there is no why behind that. There is no substantial reason as to why they want to influence. So it's so important that you're bringing all this meaning into the term influencer. So based on that, what is influence in your opinion, from your perspective, and what does it mean to be an influencer in an industry?
So, excuse me, from my book, so there's a lot of research and geekiness because I look dashing with this hat, but I'm actually a geek. So I love to read boring stuff and make it fun. That's kind of like how the book works, basically. So that's what I did. And when I was reading about influence, you kind of realize that influence at the end of the day is nothing more than something linked to our psychology as human beings. We are influenced. We are made to influence people at the same time. It kind of all works in together, doesn't it? So at the end of the day, influence is pretty much as a need as it is, like, needs and behaviors and values. The fact that influence is part of that means that objectively we can influence people without realizing, and that's what I found it interesting, that now influencer is a thing and it is perceived in a way which I kind of don't agree with. So answering to your question, I will go slightly away from what people consider influencers now, which is people on Instagram that post pretty pictures, basically. Nothing wrong with that. I do post pretty pictures on Instagram myself, but as you said at the beginning, is the why, which is sometimes what's lacking. And this is what I kind of wanted to explore. How can we redefine influence in a way that makes sense to us, especially with the industry that I work with, as you said, which is our industry, health and wellness. There's spirituality as well for myself, obs. But what I realize is that influence at the end of the day means, again, influencing, I'm going to use the words, but like influencing the decision of some people in an area of their life. So if you're in health and wellness, you're going to influence their decisions when it comes to health and wellness, and especially their own health and what they want to do. So what are you going to do in order to make that happen? And this should be your why. And so basically coming back to the reason why you want to help people, because everybody influences everybody, whether you like it or not. So an influencer, objectively, is somebody who can influence people in a way or another. We all are. And people that are more persuasive, so persuasion comes in, are the best influencers. And it can also be your friend, it can be your soccer mom, it can be anybody. But when you have a wider platform, that's when the issues come in, because you have more responsibility, and that's the problem. Like Peter Parker style, great power, great responsibility kind of thing.
It's so important that you mention responsibility, because I think that's that's the shift between influencing as a hobby and influencing because you're a human, basically, and making that your business and being a public figure is you have the responsibility to the people that are following you, and therefore you should present yourself a certain way. What is the balance between being authentic and being careful about what to share and what not to share?
To me, it comes to your personal boundaries. I was talking to this with Hannah, again, like plug alert, when I was in Hannah's podcast, and like, because again, I've known Hannah Bear for like 5 years, so I've known her since forever. So we talk a lot. We're like best friends, so we talk a lot about stuff. And one of the things that we realize is that at the end of the day, a lot of people that are influencers also will talk about things that I wouldn't feel comfortable because of where I'm sitting talking about, right? So I'm authentic to myself because I'm like, listen, my private life right now, I just don't want to share as much. I don't care. It's just like, I like to share. I realize that I feel comfortable. I feel like I'm more of use and service when I'm sharing certain things and not other. I'm still authentic. I'm not going to tell you that I have, that I have a husband and I live in LA if I'm not. So that would be kind of like not really showcasing. I'm not going to tell you that I'm not having a bad day. The fact that I don't want to show myself crying when I'm having a bad day shouldn't be something that makes me less authentic. So the balance is not, there's not really a right or wrong, is whatever fits you in a way that makes you feel comfortable, because at the end of the day, you should be, I realize that I'm the first person to want to be giving too much sometimes, because givers are like this empath. But you should still protect yourself first, because otherwise you're not able to serve people the best, right? That's kind of how I see him. There's not right or wrong. It's all your boundaries. And once you set to boundaries, as long as you're honest, authenticity is not, how much you show of yourself or how much you do before and after pictures. Is not that. To me, this is what I've seen. And it makes people more comfortable. It makes people feel less the pressure they already have anyways.
That makes so much sense. You just said your boundaries as to what areas of your life you want to share online, and you share those areas very authentically, where you keep the other ones privately. Perfect distinction there. Thank you for that. Now, in the book, you talk about 3 different types of influencers, specifically social influencers, peer influencers, and brand champions. Could you just let us know what these 3 types of influencers are? These are terms I haven't really heard before, and it really interests me to find out exactly what kind of influencers people are, and how we can find out what kind of influencer we can be in our industry.
Awesome. I would say that if you are listening, probably if you're listening to this, you are a social influencer as much as you kind of want to be. You can also be a brand champion in a way, but basically social influencers are, I would say, almost the audience for the book. because social influencers is anybody who has an audience online. They can influence throughout objects with their social media or any social way, that can be, mostly is social media or content, creation of content. So social influencers is mainly us, like take incredible selfies and amazing Instagram stories, and we're just gonna really probably do that on top of all the other content that we create in order to serve people. So that's kind of it. Now the thing with peer influencers is kind of like is the buddies. It's like the easiest one, and it's actually peer influencers, as I mentioned in the book, again, Geek Alert, are the ones that are most influential. It's kind of funny, there's a study that says that you're actually more likely to be, which I mentioned in the book, you're actually more likely to be influenced by your acquaintances than your close friends, because it's almost like there is an extra level of separation that still gives you the idea, like, if this person that I kind of admire, there's a bit more admiration for like people that you kind of know. I think it's one of those things, like the more you know somebody, the more you see vulnerabilities, the less you can idolize them. It sounds really crude, but that's what it is sometimes. But yeah, peer influencers are friends or acquaintances, and people that are in your circles, like again, the soccer moms, like mom groups are crazy. I was in a mom group just because it was a local group where I used to live. Man, these women, like the amount of like decision making they can make, and they can convince all of them to just change, like, nappy brand, like, it's crazy. Literally, like, it's serious shit, right? It's crazy. But these are very powerful influencers. So it's usually friends, family, acquaintances, local kind of influencers, if you want to put it this way. Brand champions, a lot of them are usually people that work or interact, I suppose, with a brand or a company. And so brand champions, my main example is the employees that I make a lot, are incredible people to have if you are the owner of a company, or if you are, if you are part of a brand. These are great people to tap into, because these are, or even customers. That's the other one, obviously. So that will come really handy if you're a light worker or if you're like a spiritual teacher and you have people that you've supported. These people are actually very strong influences as well. So when you think about it, social influencers are probably the ones, comparatively speaking, with the least influence, which is kind of like interesting.
So interesting. I love the distinction between the three and the different levels and dimensions that each three types of influencers, they can function, and at the same time they can work together. So someone could be all three kind of influencers in a way. Now I want to dive into the 6 habits of influencing that you talk about in the book. And I want you to give us just like the main message behind that, so that people can have a takeaway from that, and they can later on get your book, make an impact, so they can apply all that and dive deeper into it. And by the way, I love all the geeky stuff, because I'm the same way. I read a lot, like research, blah, 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 blah. And then I come on with a reindeer hat and just explain it in an easier way to people. So I really appreciate what you've done with that. Okay, so let's start with the 6 habits we need to develop to create positive change with our message and be an influencer within our industry. So the first one is have a mission that feels uncomfortable. Why uncomfortable?
Okay, one thing that I would like to say, sorry, just to kind of like explain before I go into the habits, that the habits weren't just me being smug. That's the other thing I want to say, just to explain before I get into them, is actually through a study that I carried out. I explained in the book how the study was carried out. So the social influencers that I mentioned, these are the guys that helped me prove and also disprove some habits that I thought were going to be that. So all of these little guys are actually things that, through sentences and a massive survey that I did with 2 different sets of people, they showed to be the ones that were actually the habits that people were actually, going through and carrying on and continuously doing. Just to explain, but when you read a book, you will see actually who these people are. So number 1, uncomfortable. Why uncomfortable? Because it has to challenge you. Because what doesn't challenge you, this sounds literally like, I have a lot of quotes in the book. I like quotes and like little like snappy things. What doesn't challenge you doesn't change you. It's kind of that idea. That's why your mission should be uncomfortable, because you should be able to come back to it and reassess it and think on whether you are still on that mission or the mission has changed, which a lot of people don't like to talk about as much, because it's catchy to tell people to have a strong mission. It's not so sexy to tell them, you're going to change it, man. So you have to actually suck it up and just like go back to the drawing board a lot of times, and that's fine. So yeah, have it uncomfortable. Make sure that you are a good storyteller. This is kind of like a few of the things that we touch. But I would say, yeah, challenge yourself within the reason why you do what you do. That's the takeaway from habit number 1.
So important to be aware that our purpose and our mission can change because we change. Some people have resistance in accepting that because we don't like change. I mean, it's the common fear behind that. But that's such an important takeaway. The second habit is diversify your portfolio. What do you mean by that?
I like to use sexy words like portfolio. It makes me so often, just sexy inside. I feel like
Hilarious.
I think if you don't get the video version of this, you miss out on so much goodness. But I'll try. I'm quite expressive, so I'll try and bring it out from the audio as well if needed. Because if you want to be an influencer, see, this is kind of where the social influencers come in. Because obviously, if you are the soccer mom, it doesn't really matter as much. But if you're a social influencer and you also have, let's say, like a light worker, you have ways you want to influence. You have to be wise enough to open up your horizon and kind of like widen your horizon. That's the one. And kind of like find different things that will work for you, because the world changes like we change, right? And some things will become obsolete. And it can be some products, ideas, or it can be the way that we deliver these things. So even if it's just you talking about your mission, it might be that video is not going to, video is the next thing and it's going to keep on being the next thing for a while. But again, visuals are not the next thing anymore. Visuals are cool, great, but video is more impactful. So allow yourself to have different avenues and different ways to, if you want to use it quite generally speaking, in the book I get into also like products and services and income. So I get quite real because I like to give people actual takeaways. But if you want to go generically speaking, even just the way you deliver your mission and your message, I suppose, you will have to diversify so that you can test different things and you can evolve them depending on how people react to them. That's such an important thing. So that's what I mean with diversifying your portfolio.
That's so true. And a practical example is when everybody was building up really powerful Facebook pages. And then when Facebook changed the algorithm, then all those businesses didn't know how to do. So diversification is all about just sharing our message basically on multiple platforms, one form of it, just so we have all our bases covered. Okay, so the third habit is how to build credibility in your industry. Tell us more about that. How do we do it? What is the biggest takeaway behind it?
The biggest takeaway that I can say, just because even before telling you how you can do it, the spoiler alert is that how you can do it is just learning, which will come back in habit number 5 anyway. They're all linked, which is quite obvious. But the most important, the thing that people struggle the most is why. And I'll explain you why you have to build that kind of like credibility. Because in our industry it's a bit easier, but I think I come from an industry that is very much health and wellness. There's a bit less of the spirituality side of it, which means a lot of them are nutritionists, a lot of these people are PTs. So you have people's health, actually in your hands. And this is why, people have started to be a bit more wary about this kind of stuff. But generally speaking, I would say you have to do it because of the trust that you're building. So you want to build trust with your people. So credibility helps with trust. I talk about the 3, which I'm not going to tell you all 3 here, but the 3 elements that kind of come into that credibility, expertise, and experience. And one of them is trust and trustworthiness and building trust, which kind of makes sense. So when you do that, the most important thing is that building trust means that if you fail or if you make a mistake, people are going to be more understanding. So building credibility is not just sexy because of like weird acronyms that you can put next to your name. Nothing wrong. I know how much people work for those, but it's not just that. It's also the fact that people will trust you and people will understand if you make mistakes, because I make loads and then I delay on some deadlines because, things don't work because I'm working with technology. I have to be honest with people and be like, listen guys, I'm doing my best here. I appreciate that you're patient. This is the kind of thing that you can do whilst to build that credibility that comes also with expertise.
And I love that. And just sharing your pitfalls and your mistakes as well just helps build that credibility, because it shows people that you're not this untouchable human being, you're being real like them, because we all make mistakes. Now, the next one, which is my favorite one, because I think it's so important in the lightworker and spiritual community, because we, for many years, spiritual people growing up, we felt like we couldn't fit in and we felt like outcasts. So finally, when we find the power of a community, which is the next habit, we just feel this sense of togetherness and belongingness. So why is it important to develop a powerful community in order to influence and make an impact?
Because we are humans and we are not supposed and designed to be by ourselves. I mean, some people like to be by themselves, but if you like to influence people, you kind of have to have the people that you can influence. This is the short answer. The long answer is that there are so many levels and layers, including accountability, support, cheering on, cheerleading, that are very important. We kind of need to build around us, especially because an influencer by trade, as in anybody also as a public figure, you might have a bit of an entourage, but you're a 1, 2, 3 man show. You're not a 7, 8, 20 people show. So it's a smaller kind of thing. So I really believe that that's the reason. Just bringing people together helps us grow. I wouldn't have one community plus a new community that I'm building up right now. I wouldn't have 2 communities if I didn't know that it worked.
I love it. And this is what I found worked best for me, is building the community is the easiest way to establish trust again with people. They're all interconnected and therefore be able to influence and share ideas more effectively. Now, the next one, which is what people don't like, I think, but it's the most important one, as you mentioned earlier briefly, is cultivate a learner mindset. Why is it so important to keep learning?
First of all, people, you should love learning. Learning is fun. I mean, we're geeks, so I guess we kind of like go against the crowd here, like, I love learning. But again, the thing that I would say is that if you don't like learning, means you're not learning the right things or you're not learning the right way. As in, I love what I do, and actually I realized that I don't mind. I like learning about nutrition, or even like I'm also a PT, so I love learning about things, working out. What I really love learning is like techie stuff. I love learning about marketing and stuff because that's where I'm in my element, like strategy, planning. That's what I love. So if you find really what you enjoy learning, then you are not going to struggle with it. First. Secondly, why? Second thing before I tell you the why is also how you learn is really important. So what you learn and how you learn, because we're visual, we're auditory, it can be a bit more like experience learning. There are different ways to learn. Figure out which one works best for you. Once you get these 2 things, you fix the what and you fix the why. The reason why you should learn is because, again, it allows you to grow and challenge yourself, but also it allows you to stay ahead of the game. And as an influencer, you're influencing people, therefore you're also going to influence them about what's going on around you. And if you want to build credibility, see, everything is linked back. If you want to learn, gain credibility, you have to learn in order to prove people that you know what you're talking about. You can't escape that. So that's kind of, but again, I'm telling you why you need to do it, but I also told you 2 other things that can help you figure out what you want to learn, because once you find that, it's going to be easier, and how you want to learn is another really handy thing that can make it much easier for you regardless.
That is so liberating that you mentioned that how you want to learn, that because people learn in different ways, and yet we're traumatized from like school and being forced to learn in a certain way, and many people just don't enjoy learning because they feel they just have to like be in front of a book all day long or just read articles online. But we can watch videos, there are podcasts like this one. There are so many diverse ways we can learn. And the final habit to making an impact and being an influencer, which I think is the habit that most influencers out there don't really follow, is being more vulnerable, which I think it is the key factor to being an influencer, especially within spirituality. I don't know about wellness and health as well.
Well, the thing is, vulnerability has a different facet. It has different elements to it. One of the things that I don't touch fully in the book, because spoiler alert is going to be in a future one, wink, 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 is, come on, you know me, like if I like doing something, I want to do 50 millions of them. It's
Of
just
course.
the way it works, right? I just touched the surface on this one because it's very important, but it's also one that can get a bit hyped up and misunderstood because self love. I love self love and self care, but now it's a buzzword. So I think we don't really think about actually what it means for us also as people that work, as workers and people that work for ourselves. So vulnerability, I go back to the big thing is asking for help, and this is what I want to explore more in future books because I think it's so important to understand how you can make yourself the most productive, understand when you're doing too much, and take on stuff and take stuff off for yourself. Sorry, not take on stuff. Because at the end of the day, so I'm just gonna shuffle myself a bit. Yeah, people don't know that they should shut up, so I'm gonna get in the other corner. Guys, move you on the other corner. Oh god, there you go. Okay, I'm on this side. Now you see wood. But yeah, what I wanted to say, just casually, but no, what I wanted to say is that the most important thing when it comes to habit number 6 is that vulnerability comes in different forms. The one that I push on about a lot is asking for help and realizing when you need the support that you need, because this is one of the things that makes that is differentiated between the social influencers, who are the big group that I studied, and the highly influential people, which are in the name of the book, who are the other group that was more successful. And I needed to see what the differences were, and this is a big difference that they have. One of them is much more likely to ask for help and knows how to ask for help efficiently without as many reservations.
That's so important. Therefore, just being realistic with ourselves and realizing when we need help, when we're lacking something, and just getting out of our comfort zone and asking people for that help. So important, and something that so many people are afraid to do because we feel like we're supposed to be perfect all the time. So, Fab,
and we shouldn't.
Where can people get the book, and where can people find more about you?
You can find about me on the internet, where all the cool kids are. If you can spell my name, that's the only caveat. You have to spell my name, which is the issue. But if you can spell it, then you're safe. So it's Fab, F-A-B, Giovanetti, which George spells beautifully, by the way, because I have
Giovanetti, because you're Italian.
Yeah, because I hear people butchering it every single day. It's like
the Greek and the Italian, they can easily pronounce stuff like that.
Come on, sorry. But yeah, so you can find me more on any kind of social at that handle. That's the handle is my name, and then the book is Make an Impact, and you can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and Waterstones if you fancy. But everybody kind of goes to Amazon because we're lazy, and there's 1-day delivery, and it's great before Christmas as a stocking filler because it fits in stockings. So yay!
Fabulous, Fab. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me. I love delving into your book, and I love reading your book as well. Thank you so much for being my last Lit Up Instagram show episode for 2018. It was a fab way to end the season, and I cannot wait to see everybody in the new year as well. And I can't wait to see you soon next time I'm in London.
Yes, please do. And I'll bring this. Even if it's March, I'll still bring the Santa hat just because.
Just because. Thank you, Fab. Have a beautiful evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.